The war had been going on for years. The human forces had been sent to a distant galaxy to fight the alien empire that threatened their worlds. Captain Alex Stone was part of a special mission, one that required stealth, skill, and precision. His team was assigned to capture the enemy's most valuable leader, Lady Zira, the feared alien warrior known for her beauty, strength, and cunning. Lady Zira was no ordinary enemy. She was a symbol of her people's power, a warrior who had never been defeated in battle. Her people, the Zorai, were known for their advanced technology and their relentless pursuit of victory. To capture her would be a huge blow to their empire, and Alex's mission was critical to the success of the war. The team of soldiers had infiltrated the enemy's stronghold under the cover of night. Their goal was simple: get in, capture Lady Zira, and get out. No distractions, no mistakes. But as Alex and his team moved through the enemy's dark corridors, something didn't feel right. "I don't like this," whispered Sergeant Rachel, Alex's trusted second-in-command. Her sharp eyes scanned the surroundings, looking for any signs of danger. "We're too close now," Alex replied, his voice steady, though his mind raced. The Zorai were known for their intelligence, and Alex knew they could be walking into a trap. But they had no choice. The mission had to succeed. The team reached the main chamber, where Lady Zira was supposed to be. But instead of the usual security, the room was eerily quiet. Alex motioned for his team to stay low as they crept inside, and then they saw her. Lady Zira stood in the center of the room, her back to them. Her long, dark hair flowed down her back like a river of midnight, and her silver armor glinted under the faint light. She was a stunning sight, almost otherworldly, and Alex couldn't help but feel a strange mix of awe and fear. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was her power, her deadly presence that truly defined her. The moment she turned, their eyes met, and in that brief instant, Alex saw the fire of a warrior, a leader, and someone who would never surrender. "Lady," Zira's lips curled into a smile, but it was not one of kindness. "You think you can take me?" she asked, her voice cold and full of authority. "You will regret this." Before anyone could react, she moved with lightning speed, drawing a sleek, curved blade from her side. The team scrambled, trying to react, but she was faster. In a blur, she struck, knocking one of the soldiers to the ground with a single blow. Alex ordered his team to fall back and regroup. They had underestimated her, but they wouldn't make that mistake again. They formed a circle around her, weapons drawn, ready to fight. Lady Zira looked at them, her eyes burning with the fury of a trapped animal. "You think you can contain me?" she hissed. "I am Lady Zira of the Zorai, and I will never be captured." Alex knew they had to act quickly. They couldn't afford a prolonged fight. Too many lives were at stake. He gave a sharp signal, and the team charged. They surrounded her, each soldier aiming for a different angle, trying to keep her off balance. But she was a master of combat. With every move, she outmatched them, striking with precision and grace. She was like a whirlwind, cutting through the air with her blade, faster than any of them had anticipated. Alex watched as his team struggled to keep up, but they were no match for her skill and strength. Then, just as the situation seemed hopeless, Alex spotted an opening. With a swift motion, he lunged forward, aiming his weapon directly at Lady Zira's chest. But before he could make contact, she turned, her blade coming up in a flash. The two weapons collided with a loud clash, the force of the impact sending a shockwave through the room. Alex grunted, struggling to keep his balance. Lady Zira's eyes locked onto his, and for the first time Alex saw something different, something that made him pause. There was no malice in her gaze, no desire to kill. Instead, it was a look of calculation, as if she were weighing her options. "You're different," she said, her voice quieter now, though still filled with defiance. "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." Alex didn't answer. He knew this was his chance. He pushed forward with everything he had, forcing her to the ground. With a quick movement, he restrained her, binding her hands with cuffs designed to neutralize her alien strength. She struggled for a moment, but then, realizing she couldn't break free, she stopped. The room fell silent. Lady Zira's chest rose and fell as she took deep, slow breaths, her eyes never leaving Alex. Her defiance remained, but there was also something else, something softer, almost. Vulnerable. Why? She asked, her voice quieter now. Why do you fight for a cause you don't understand? We are not your enemies. We are survivors, just like you. Alex stood over her, conflicted. He had captured her, but something about her. Words made him hesitate. She was a warrior, yes, but was she truly the enemy? He had been trained to view her as nothing more than a threat, but now, standing in front of her, he wondered if things were more complicated than he had been taught. We'll see about that, Alex said, finally breaking the silence. He turned to his team, signaling them to prepare for the return trip. As they left the chamber, Lady Zira was escorted aboard their ship, still defiant, still proud. But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this mission had just become something more. There was more to Lady Zira than he had realized, and he wasn't sure what that meant for the future. The ship was quiet, almost too quiet. Alex sat in his quarters, staring out at the endless expanse of space. His mind kept returning to the same image, Lady Zira's eyes, filled with pride and defiance. The alien warrior had been captured, but something about her stuck with him. It wasn't just her beauty. It was the fire in her eyes, the way she carried herself like a queen. He had never encountered an enemy like her. Days passed, but the unease inside him didn't fade. He wasn't sure what to do with her. She was a prisoner, yes, but she was also something more. She had given him a glimpse of herself during their struggle, a side that didn't fit the image of a cold-hearted enemy. He had been trained to view aliens like her as nothing but obstacles to be removed, yet now he found himself questioning that belief. Lady Zira had been locked in a secure cell, guarded at all times. She hadn't said much since the capture, only throwing defiant glares at anyone who came near her. Alex's team had been instructed to keep their distance, but something told him that wasn't the way to deal with her. He had to understand her. He had to know who she really was. Late one evening, Alex decided to visit her. He made his way down the dimly lit corridors of the ship, each step echoing in the silence. When he reached her cell, the guards stepped aside. Lady Zira was sitting on the floor, her back against the wall, staring out at the cold metal bars that separated her from the rest of the ship. She didn't look up when he entered. Her expression was unreadable, as though she were lost in thought. Alex hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say, but he had to try. He had to understand her better. Lady Zira, he said, his voice firm, yet not unkind. I didn't come here to argue or fight. I just want to talk. Her eyes finally met his, and for the first time Alex saw a flicker of something other than anger. It was curiosity, just a glimmer, but enough to make him feel like he had made the right choice. What do you want, human? Her voice was low, but there was a certain weariness to it now. It wasn't the same cold, challenging tone she had used before. It was almost as if she had given up on fighting him. I want to understand, Alex replied, taking a step closer. You're not like the others. There's something different about you. I don't know if it's your strength or your pride, but you're not the enemy I thought you were. Lady Zira's gaze softened slightly, but she said nothing at first. She seemed to be considering his words, weighing them carefully. Then, to Alex's surprise, she spoke again, her voice quieter this time. You think you know me, she said, but you don't. You look at me and see an enemy, a monster, but I am not your enemy. I am a survivor. Alex frowned, unsure of what she meant. A survivor? He repeated, his voice confused. Of what? The war, Lady Zira explained, her tone now tinged with bitterness. My people are not what you think. We don't fight because we want to. We fight because we have no choice. Our planet was destroyed, and we have been wandering the galaxy trying to rebuild. We fight to survive. That is all. Alex was silent. For a moment. He had heard rumors about the Zori, about how they were ruthless and cold-hearted, but he had never considered the possibility that they were just trying to survive. It made sense in a way. Every race had its reasons for fighting, its own struggles. But that didn't make her people any less dangerous. "I'm sorry about your people," Alex said, his voice sincere. "But that doesn't change the fact that you were trying to destroy us." Lady Zira looked down, her eyes flickering with something Alex couldn't quite place. "I didn't want to," she said softly. "But I had no choice. My people needed me. I am their leader, their hope. Without me, they would be lost." Alex could hear the pain in her voice, and for a moment, he wondered if there was more to her than he had realized. This wasn't just a warrior who fought without thought. This was a woman burdened by the weight of her people's survival. She wasn't just a fighter. She was a leader, someone who carried the hopes of an entire species on her shoulders. "Why did you offer me something in exchange for your life?" Alex asked. "Why did you say you would give me strong children?" Lady Zira's gaze hardened again, but there was no malice in it, Alice. Instead, it was a resigned kind of strength. "I told you before," she said, "I am a survivor. If I die, then the Zorai will lose their strongest leader. But if you spare me, I will give you something more than just survival. I will give you strength, a future where our people can live together side by side." Alex was silent for a long moment. Her offer seemed impossible, yet the more he thought about it, the more he realized she wasn't just talking about physical strength. She was offering him the chance to create a new future, one where humans and Zorai could coexist, despite the war between their peoples. It was a tempting offer, one that would change the course of the galaxy forever. "Why me?" he asked quietly, his voice betraying his confusion. "Why do you think I'm the one who can help you?" Lady Zira met his gaze, and for the first time, Alex saw something like vulnerability in her eyes. "Because you are different," she said simply. "You're not like the others. You understand that there is more to life than just fighting. You have a vision of something beyond war. That's why you can help." Alex didn't know what to say. He had been trained to see things in black and white, enemy or ally, friend or foe. But Lady Zira had just shown him that the truth was much more complicated than that. She wasn't just an enemy. She was a woman, a leader, and someone who had fought for her people's survival, just like he had fought for his. He didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was certain. This mission had become far more than just capturing an enemy. It had become something else entirely. The days passed, but the tension aboard the ship never truly left. Captain Alex Stone couldn't stop thinking about Lady Zira. The conversation they'd had lingered in his mind. She was no longer just a prisoner. She had become someone he couldn't quite understand, someone who was more than just an enemy. Lady Zira spent most of her time in her cell, still guarded by the ship's security forces. She wasn't violent anymore, but there was a quiet determination in her every movement. It was clear she was trying to make sense of her situation, just like Alex was. Neither of them had the answers yet, but it seemed like they were both beginning to see the other in a different light. Alex continued to visit her when he could, trying to understand her better. Each time, their conversations became a little easier. Lady Zira was still proud, but she no longer treated him with the same hostility. It was as though she had started to recognize that they were not as different as she had once believed. One evening, after another quiet exchange, Alex found himself standing outside her cell once more. He hesitated, unsure of what he hoped to gain from another conversation. He wasn't entirely sure if he wanted answers or just to understand her better. "Captain Stone," Lady Zira's voice came from the shadows. "I knew you would come." Her words were not challenging, but they held a certain curiosity. Alex stepped forward, nodding silently. He still couldn't fully understand why she had called out to him, but there was something in her voice that told him this wasn't just about survival anymore. "I wanted to ask you something," she continued, her voice quieter than before. "Why did you hesitate? You had the chance to end this. Why didn't you?" Alex took a deep breath, looking at the floor before meeting her gaze. "I don't know," he admitted. "Something about you made me think twice. You're not what I expected." Lady Zira studied him carefully, her sharp eyes never leaving his. "What did you expect then?" "I don't know," Alex said again, this time more firmly. I guess I thought you were just a soldier, someone who followed orders, but you're more than that. You're a leader. I can see that now. Her eyes softened for a moment, and for the first time, Alex saw something that resembled respect in them. It was a fleeting moment, but it was there. I fight for my people, she said simply, and I will do whatever it takes to ensure their survival, even if it means making deals with enemies. The silence between them grew heavy. Alex didn't know how to respond. He wasn't sure if he should trust her, but something told him she wasn't lying. She had made her offer clear, but he still didn't know if he could take her words seriously. What exactly is it that you want? Alex finally asked. You keep talking about survival and giving me a future, but I don't know what that really means. What do you want from me, Lady Zyra? She stood up from the floor, slowly walking toward the bars of her cell. Her expression was serious, almost sorrowful. I want a chance, she said, her voice low but steady. A chance to prove that we can have a future together. My people are not all warriors, Captain Stone. We are survivors, just like your people. We are not your enemies, not in the way you think. Alex felt a wave of confusion. He had seen the Zorai as nothing but a threat to humanity, a race that had caused nothing but destruction. But Lady Zyra's words made him question everything he had been taught. What if there was more to their story? What if he had been wrong about her people? I still don't understand, Alex confessed. Why me? Why do you think I can make this work? Lady Zyra looked at him with unwavering eyes as if trying to see into his soul. Because you have the strength to change things, she said softly. You are different from the others. You see beyond the fight. You understand that survival is more than just conquering your enemies. You understand that there is more to life than war. Her words lingered in the air, and Alex couldn't shake the feeling that she was right. He had always believed that there was more to life than the endless cycle of war. But he had never imagined that the key to breaking that cycle could come from an enemy like Lady Zyra. He stayed in her presence for a few more moments, thinking. There was a quiet understanding between them now, one that hadn't been there before. Alex realized that this wasn't just about winning or losing. This was about something bigger, something that could change the fate of both their species. You're right, he said finally. There has to be more. But I don't know if I'm the one who can make that happen. I'm just a soldier, not a diplomat. Lady Zyra smiled, though it was a sad, knowing smile. Maybe you are more than you think. As Alex turned to leave, he felt a sense of unease settle in his chest. Lady Zyra's offer was still something he couldn't fully grasp. He wanted to believe in it, but the risks were enormous. If he agreed to her terms, what would it mean for humanity? Would it truly be possible for humans and Zorai to coexist? Or would it be the end of both their races? His thoughts were interrupted by the soft sound of Lady Zyra's voice calling him back. Captain Stone, she said, her tone gentler than before. I know what you're thinking, and I understand your hesitation. But you don't have to make this decision alone. We can find a way together. I believe that. For both our people. Her words struck Alex deep, and he paused, standing just outside her cell. There was something in her that he had never expected, a sense of hope. And for the first time in this long and brutal war, Alex wondered if hope was something worth fighting for. The days aboard the ship grew quieter after Alex's last conversation with Lady Zyra. The uneasy tension between them had lessened somewhat, but it still lingered in the air. Alex couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. Was she truly offering him a future, or was it just a way to manipulate him into freeing her? He had never been a person to easily trust others, especially not enemies. But Lady Zyra had a way about her, a quiet strength and determination that made him wonder if there was more to her than the ruthless leader he had been trained to see. Still, Alex knew he couldn't afford to let his guard down. There was too much at stake, and one wrong move could cost them everything. He had spent the past few days thinking about her offer, her claim that she could give him a strong future, one where humans and Zorai could coexist. It seemed impossible, a fantasy. But in the silence of the ship, as he stared at the stars outside his window, he found himself wondering if it could be real. One evening, as he walked through the corridors of the ship, he found himself drawn to the holding area where Lady Zira was kept. He hadn't planned to visit her, but something inside him told him that he needed to. The guard stepped aside as he approached the cell. Inside, Lady Zira was sitting on the floor, her eyes closed. She didn't seem to notice him at first, but when she finally looked up, there was a glimmer of recognition in her gaze. "Captain Stone," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I knew you would come." Alex hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say. The past few days had left him feeling conflicted. He didn't know if he could trust her, but something about her made him want to listen. "I've been thinking about what you said," Alex began, his voice calm. "About the future, about your people. But it still doesn't make sense to me. You want me to believe that we can work together, that our people can live in peace. But how can I trust that? How can I know that it's not just a trick?" Lady Zira stood up and moved closer to the bars of her cell. Her eyes never left him, and there was a seriousness in her expression that made Alex pause. "You think I'm trying to trick you," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I understand why you might think that, but I swear, I am not lying to you. I'm offering you something that I truly believe can work. My people and yours, we are not so different." Alex frowned, still unsure. "But we've been at war for so long. My people see you as nothing but a threat." Lady Zira nodded slowly. "I know, and I understand that. But I am not the enemy you think I am. My people have been forced into this war. We didn't ask for this. And if I can find a way to end it, I will. For both of us." Alex looked at her, his mind racing. He didn't know if he could believe her. Everything he had been taught told him that aliens like her were dangerous, that they would never offer peace unless it benefited them in some way. But Lady Zira seemed different. She didn't act like the others. She didn't just want to fight, she wanted something more. "What are you asking for exactly?" Alex asked, his voice low. "I am asking for a chance," Lady Zira replied, her gaze never leaving his. "A chance to prove that we can work together, to prove that my people and yours can have a future beyond war. You see, Captain Stone, we have the same goal in mind: survival. My people need me to lead them, and you need your people to survive. The only way we can truly achieve that is if we work together. If we unite." Alex shook his head, still unsure. "But what if you're wrong? What if this is just a way to manipulate me into helping your people? How can I trust you?" Lady Zira stepped closer to the bars, her eyes softening for the first time. "Because I'm not asking for your help out of desperation. I'm asking because I believe it's the only way forward. We've both lost so much already. If we continue fighting, we'll only destroy ourselves. But if we can find a way to work together, we could build something stronger than either of us alone." Her words hung in the air between them, and Alex felt a flicker of hope rise within him. Could this be possible? Could he truly trust her? He wasn't sure, but he knew one thing. This offer was unlike anything he had ever heard before. It wasn't just about survival. It was about something greater. Something that could change the course of the war and the future of their people. "You say you can give me a future?" Alex said, his voice quiet. "But how?" Lady Zira's gaze grew more intense, her voice full of conviction. "I am offering you a future where we don't have to fight anymore. I'm offering you the strength of my people, the strength of both our peoples. Together we can create something that will survive long after the war ends." Alex felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. This was a decision he couldn't make lightly. If he agreed to her offer, it would change everything. It would change the future of humanity and the Zorai. But could he really trust her? Could he really believe that they could build something stronger together? "You're asking a lot," Alex said, his voice thick with doubt. "I know," Lady Zira replied softly. "But I'm asking because I believe in it. I believe in what we can become. If you spare me, I can show you the way. Together we can end this war." Alex stood there for a long moment, his mind racing. He knew that this was a decision he couldn't undo. But as he looked at Lady Zira, he felt a sense of something new, something he hadn't expected to find. Hope. "I'll think about it," Alex said finally, his voice quiet but steady. Lady Zira nodded, her expression unreadable. "That's all I ask." As Alex turned to leave, he couldn't help but feel a sense of uncertainty. Lady Zira had offered him something powerful, something that could change everything. But he knew that the road ahead would be difficult. There were no guarantees. And, in the end, he would have to decide if he could trust her and if he was willing to take that risk. The ship shook as the alarms blared. Alex was jolted awake, his heart pounding in his chest. The flashing red lights cast an eerie glow across his quarters, and he quickly grabbed his uniform, rushing out into the corridor. "Captain, we're under attack!" Sergeant Rachel's voice echoed through the chaos as she met him halfway. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. "The Zorai fleet has found us." Alex's mind raced. The Zorai had been searching for Lady Zira since she had been captured, and now it seemed they had tracked her to this very ship. The danger was real. If they didn't act fast, they would be overwhelmed. "Where's Lady Zira?" Alex asked, his voice tense. "She's in the holding area, Captain," Rachel replied. "What should we do?" Alex paused for a moment, looking around at the crew scrambling to prepare for battle. His first instinct was to put Lady Zira under guard, to keep her locked away where she couldn't do any harm. But then he remembered the conversations they'd had, the connection they'd formed. He couldn't ignore what she had said about her people, about the future she believed in. "Get the crew to their stations," Alex said, his voice steady. "I'll handle Lady Zira." As he made his way toward the holding area, the sound of explosions echoed through the ship. The Zorai were closing in. Time was running out. When Alex reached the holding area, he found Lady Zira sitting quietly in her cell. Her eyes closed as if she were meditating. She looked calm, almost serene despite the chaos around them. She opened her eyes when she heard him approach, and a faint smile crossed her face. "You've come to see me again, Captain," she said softly. "I knew you would." "This is not a social visit," Alex said, his voice tight. "The Zorai are attacking. They've found us. We're outnumbered, and I don't know how much longer we can hold them off." Lady Zira stood up slowly, her eyes dark with concern. "Then we must act quickly. You cannot win this battle alone." "I know," Alex replied. "That's why I'm asking you for help. I need you to help us defend this ship." Lady Zira raised an eyebrow, her expression one of surprise. "You want me to fight for you?" "I don't have a choice," Alex said, his voice growing more urgent. "I can't do this alone. You're our best chance at surviving this." Lady Zira studied him carefully, her gaze intense. Alex couldn't tell what she was thinking. She was a warrior, a leader, and yet, for the first time since their capture, she seemed uncertain. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. "I need you to use your knowledge," Alex replied. "Your people have advanced technology. I need you to help us fight back, to use whatever you have to get us out of this alive." For a long moment, Lady Zira didn't say anything. She simply looked at Alex as though weighing his words. Finally, she spoke, her voice low but steady. "Your people are not the only ones who have fought for survival," she said. "My people have fought for their lives just as fiercely. If we do this, we must work together, not as enemies, but as allies. Do you understand?" Alex nodded, his heart racing. This was the moment of truth. There was no turning back now. If Lady Zira agreed to help, it would change everything. The future of their people, both human and Zorai, would depend on it. "I understand," he said quietly. "Let's do this." Lady Zira moved swiftly, her movements graceful and precise. She walked to the control panel in the corner of the room, accessing the ship's systems. Alex watched her work, amazed at how quickly she took control. It was clear that she knew what she was doing. She was a leader, after all. Within minutes, Lady Zira had accessed the ship's weapons systems and was giving orders to the crew. Alex could hear her voice over the intercom, calm and commanding as she instructed the crew to prepare for battle. She was no longer just a prisoner. She was a leader once again, taking charge of the situation. "We have one chance at this," Lady Zira said, turning back to Alex. "We need to fight them off now, or we'll be destroyed." Alex nodded, his mind racing. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about trust. He was trusting her to help them win this fight and to protect the future they had both been talking about. But he couldn't help but wonder what the cost of this decision would be. What would happen if they survived this battle? Would he truly be able to trust her in the long run? "Are you ready?" Lady Zira asked, her eyes meeting his. "I am," Alex replied, his voice steady. "Let's finish this." The battle was intense. The Zorai ships were powerful, and their advanced technology made them formidable opponents. But with Lady Zira's help, the crew was able to fight back with everything they had. She worked alongside Alex and his team, her knowledge of Zorai technology proving invaluable as they hacked into the enemy systems and fought off their attackers. As the battle raged on, Alex found himself relying more and more on Lady Zira. She was not just an ally. She was the key to their survival. Her leadership, her strength, and her determination were unmatched. And as the crew fought beside her, Alex began to see the truth in her words. They weren't so different after all. Both their peoples were fighting for survival. Both had lost, so much in the name of war. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the battle began to turn in their favor. The Zorai ships, weakened by their own internal sabotage, started to retreat. The remaining attackers were forced to flee, leaving the human ship victorious. Alex exhaled a long, deep breath. They had won. But the cost had been high. The ship had sustained significant damage and many lives had been lost. As the crew celebrated their victory, Alex couldn't help but think about what lay ahead. The future was uncertain. The war was far from over. But for the first time, he felt like they had a chance, a real chance to change the course of history. Lady Zira walked up to him, her face solemn. "We did it," she said, her voice soft but full of pride. "We did," Alex replied, his voice quiet. "But this is just the beginning. There's still so much we need to do." "Then let's do it together," Lady Zira said, her gaze unwavering. Alex looked at her, and for the first time, he truly believed in the possibility of peace between their peoples. It wouldn't be easy, and the road ahead would be long, but together they had a chance. The ship was still in the aftermath of the battle. The crew had managed to fend off the Zorai fleet, but the victory came at a high cost. There were repairs to be made, and the dead had to be mourned. The once quiet halls of the ship were now filled with the sounds of workers and medics moving between the injured and the damaged sections of the ship. Captain Alex Stone stood on the bridge, staring out at the vast emptiness of space. The stars seemed far away, and yet they were closer than ever. It felt like they had just stepped into a new world, one that was full of possibility, but also full of danger. For the first time in his life, Alex wondered if they could truly have peace. "Captain," a voice called from behind. It was Rachel, his second in command. "Lady Zira would like to speak with you." Alex turned to face her. He had not seen Lady Zira since the battle had ended. She had been busy with her people, helping them recover and offering counsel to those who had been injured or lost. Alex had given her space, knowing how important it was for her to regain her role as a leader. "I'll meet her," Alex said, his voice calm. Rachel nodded and left the room, and soon Alex made his way to the ship's central chamber, where Lady Zira was waiting. The room was quieter than usual, and when Alex entered, he saw her standing near the window, looking out at the stars much like he had moments before. "Captain," she said, turning to face him. There was a calmness about her now, something that hadn't been there before. "We've won, but the real battle has only just begun." "I know," Alex replied, "but we've taken the first step." You were incredible in the battle. We couldn't have done it without you. Lady Zira nodded, though her eyes were distant. I did what I had to. But this victory isn't mine alone. It belongs to both our people. Alex approached her, his expression serious. What happens now? What's our next move? Lady Zira looked at him, and for a moment her gaze softened. The Zorai will not stop. They will keep coming, looking for me, looking for the ones who sided with me. If we want peace, we will have to fight for it. But it doesn't have to be like that, Alex said, his voice steady. We can show them that there's another way. We can build something different. It's going to take time, but I believe we can do it. Together. Lady Zira didn't answer immediately. She seemed to be considering his words, the weight of the future pressing down on her shoulders. Finally she spoke, her voice quieter than before. I believe in what you're saying. But the Zorai aren't used to peace. They've been at war for so long they don't know how to stop fighting. We'll show them how, Alex said confidently. It's not going to be easy, but it's the only way forward. If we can unite, if we can set aside our differences, then we can change everything. Lady Zira smiled, but it was a small, thoughtful smile. I didn't think I'd ever hear a human say those words. I didn't think we could ever trust each other. But I'm starting to believe you. Alex met her gaze. There was something in her eyes now, a flicker of hope, something he hadn't seen before. You're not alone in this. I'm with you. We all are. Thank you, Lady Zira said, her voice soft. I couldn't have asked for a better ally. The silence between them was comfortable, not awkward. They had come a long way from their first meeting, from the tension and distrust that had defined their relationship. Now there was something deeper, something rooted in shared purpose. Alex knew the road ahead would not be easy. The war was far from over. There would be enemies who wouldn't accept peace, and there would be challenges that would test them both. But for the first time, Alex felt a real sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way to make a future that wasn't defined by war. Where do we start? Alex asked, breaking the silence. Lady Zira turned back toward the window, her eyes scanning the stars. We start by showing both our people that peace is possible. We start by making them believe that there is something worth fighting for beyond victory. It will take time, but it will be worth it. Alex nodded. He knew that this wasn't just about surviving the war. It was about creating something new, a new world, a new future, where both humans and Zorai could live in peace. It was a dream, but it was a dream that had to be pursued. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hall, and soon Rachel returned, followed by other members of the crew. The time for conversation had ended. It was time to act. Captain, Lady Zira, Rachel said, we've received word that the remaining Zorai forces have pulled back. It looks like we've bought ourselves some time. Alex turned to face her, his expression serious. Good. We'll need that time. We have work to do. Lady Zira stepped forward, her posture proud but humble. We all have work to do, and I will do everything I can to help. Together we can change the future. As the crew began to disperse, Alex stayed behind, standing beside Lady Zira. He looked out at the stars once more, but this time he didn't feel alone. For the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of possibility. It was the beginning of something new, something better, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Let's make this happen, Alex said, his voice steady and full of conviction. Lady Zira nodded, her eyes filled with a quiet strength. Together. And so, their journey began, a journey that would not only change the future of their people, but of the galaxy itself.